Kristen Baker of Kristen Baker Coaching, thank you very much for coming on the Pay to Play podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So tell me, what are you enjoying right at the moment? What's putting a smile on your face?
I'm kind of boring, I guess. I'm really enjoying watching I'm rewatching 30 Rock and just finished watching Parks and Recreation on
Oh.
Netflix and doing that whole season. So I'm kind of a Netflix TV marathon junkie. That's kind of putting a smile on my face right now. Or relaxing me rather.
Good. Netflix has just hit Australia. I
Mm,
haven't signed up for it yet anyway, but
okay.
I've noticed that the local internet speeds have been dropping a little bit lately because I think everyone's just suddenly signed up and started
Oh
probably
no.
clobbering it for things like House of Cards and catching up on Game of Thrones and all that sort of thing. Um,
Yeah.
Parks and Recreation, that's something I wouldn't mind catching up on. I found out about that not too long ago, especially after seeing Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then I saw
Yeah.
a couple of episodes, and that was bloody brilliant.
Yeah,
It's a,
yeah, yeah. It's really funny.
mm. Ah, so you have had kind of a varied path before you actually discovered the play that you wanted to get paid to do. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that start, your early years when you were getting out there and uh, yeah, when you were starting work. I mean,
Yeah.
you sounds
Yeah.
like the first thing that you did is something that would many would astound me, and others would think they could only dream of.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll back up and say that I started out as a professional opera singer.
Mm.
I didn't do that for very long because that's what I studied in college. And senior year rolled around, and I was basically like, "Oh, I don't actually like watching opera, so maybe I shouldn't be an opera singer." And same thing with music theater because I studied that too, and I just looked at like the best case scenario. And like you said, like for so many people, that would be their dream. Like they would love to be on Broadway and just performing over and over again the same thing. And to me, I was just like, that doesn't sound like fun. And the travel, and for some people, that's an amazing adventure. And to me, I was just like, no, thank you. And so, but then there I was like stuck because I had no idea. I mean, that was my path. That was my major. That was what I thought I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, rut-row, I have no idea what I want to do instead. So.
Out of interest, what was it that actually sort of got you on that path in the first
Mhm.
place? Can you tell me about, a little bit about that time when what made you sort of think that it was what you wanted to do, or at least it's what
Yeah.
made it seem like a good idea at the time?
Yeah. So I just always sang, like always, my
Mm.
whole life. I mean, my mom has a story of like pushing me around in the grocery cart in the grocery store and some guy looking at me and saying, that baby can sing, So it's just kind of like always part of my whole life. And there were definitely things that I really loved about it. And even now, like there are things that I still love about it that I bring into my work now that I had no idea were going to be there. But it was like that traditional path and really the limited creative freedom that you have in that traditional path, that I just really woke up and realized was not for me. But I mean, I did it from when I was very young through middle school and high school, and I was good at it. Like I was really good at it. And so it just sort of seemed like the next natural step for me.
Mm. I imagine that you probably had a lot of people around you going, saying the usual things that people say, like, you know what you really should be. And
Yes.
you just,
Yes.
yeah. Um,
Absolutely. And I think, it was kind of funny because it's like, I mean, like people's parents, friends, and friends, and all these people would say like, yeah, you should be, this is your gift, like you have to use it. Why aren't you singing? People still ask me that. They're like, why aren't you singing? That's your gift to the world. And my parents were super supportive, and but they never really like pushed one way or the other. So I felt lucky in that way. But I know people who still feel that weight of this is my gift and I'm supposed to be doing it, even though I don't
mm.
like it. I'm supposed to be doing it because this is my gift to the world. And so it's just interesting because it is a funny story because you would think that would be your passion and people assume that. And it really, the traditional path wasn't.
Mm, mm. I do kind of get that myself. I mean, the amount of times that people have told me that I've got a great voice for radio. And I
Mm,
have dabbled. I've tried community radio, but I've never really been particularly interested in. I mean, community radio itself, I was doing a weekly spot and I got bored with it very quickly. I just
yeah.
sort of kept going with inertia. And
Hmm.
commercial radio, I don't listen to it. The only time I ever listened to commercial radio was in the car, and now I'm riding a scooter to work, so I pretty much never listen to commercial radio.
Yeah.
So I am, and from when you listen to Drive Time and all that sort of thing, I guess I'm one of those people who listens to it and goes, 5 days a week of this. I don't
Mm.
understand how people can A, find it entertaining, and B, it must take a heap out of them, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And that's a big thing, I mean, that I learned and that I teach people is like, don't do what you're good at. Like, I mean, what you love is going to be what you're good at.
Mm,
But don't start with the premise of what you've just somehow been told that you're good at, because you'll start with a really limiting premise. And you don't owe that to people. And if there's part of it that you love, you'll figure out how to bring that. So, like you, right? Like, you bring that radio voice to this work that you're doing now,
mm,
but that doesn't mean you have to use it in that traditional way or only one way. Same thing with me in music. I still bring music to what I do now, but it's not in that in the way that I thought I was going to, and it's in a way, way, way more fulfilling
mm,
way, the way that I bring it now.
mm. So you were studying this at college, at
Mm-hmm.
university, and you had got to a point where you were sort of looking around and going, hang on a second, what most everyone has been telling me, I'm now realizing is wrong. So how
Mm-hmm.
far along in your studies were you when you got to that point?
It was senior year. So I
Mm,
finished out my degree. I mean, have a degree in opera performance and music theater.
mm,
So, yeah, it was senior year. And then what really prompted me was like, okay, now you need to figure out something else. Now that you've graduated, what else are you going to do?
mm. So, I mean, I imagine that sort of, that feeling that you got after making that realization that you were going down what had everyone had been telling you was the right path and was now the wrong one.
Mhm.
The feeling after that, because I've been there in a few times. I've failed out of university after 1 year because I just had no
Oh,
idea what the hell I was doing there. Um, so tell me about what that space was like, and
yeah.
then what you went to next, how you discovered the
Yeah.
next thing and moved into that.
Yeah, that's such a great question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. And I think that the first thing that came to my mind right now was panic. I'm
Mm,
pretty sure I felt just panic. Like, what the heck else am I going to do? And what I did from that space was I there was just this, this, like you said, like this kind of open space, like, what do you do with this now? And so in my mind at the time, I thought, I guess I'm just going to grow up and see what the real world's like and go get a real world job and buckle down and get the practical, responsible, reasonable job and see if it works out and see if I can enjoy it. And maybe I can have some hobbies in the meantime.
mm,
And so I went into commercial real estate, which was the business that my dad was in, because that was really the only other business. It was the only business that I knew, and I thought there'd be some parts of it that I would like. Okay, and it just 7 months into that, it turned into, this cannot be what I'm doing with my life either. Like, this
mm.
can't be it. And so from then, I started this exploration to finally figure out what I wanted to do from there. But that was really the starting place that said, okay, this is it. Like, you need to really figure this out.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing that might give some people pause is from what you've mentioned about doing commercial real estate, you were a success. You were
Yeah.
earning, you were helping your customers and
Mm-hmm.
presumably earning quite a bit of money yourself, but it
Mm-hmm.
still wasn't working.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, I think hopefully there are a lot of people who are listening to this podcast, and to a certain extent, myself included, who again found themselves at that place where they are from any external perspective, a success, and yet
Mm.
there is something still drastically missing. How Again, it must have been very panicking and just trying to, you'd studied for what seemed like a dream job. You'd then
Yeah.
become a business success, and yet that still wasn't working out. What did you start? How did you start exploring?
Mm. Well, for me, like it really did start like, I mean, I graduated, I got this job a few months later, and then 7 months into that job, I just knew that was not it for me.
Mm,
And so I started this exploration process. But the problem was that I kept limiting myself in what I thought I could do. And because of that, those 7 months turned into 7 years. And I was
ah,
still in this job that I did not like. And I was not, like I said, I became really successful at it and I was really good at it. And I'm really looking back, there was a lot that I learned from that experience that I use today that has really helped me. But it just felt too small for my creative potential. Like I was always a really creative person and even like music and all that. And I just felt like I was so stifled and in such a small job description that really didn't light me up or allow me to really express myself. And so, yeah, so it took a process of 7 years of exploration to really find something that really started to feel close enough that I was willing to commit. Because what happened during that process was like, I'd have all these ideas, but I would never commit. I would never follow through on them to make a change because I intuitively knew somewhere that it wasn't it. And
mm,
so I couldn't follow through. I couldn't make the discomfort bigger. I couldn't make the desire bigger than the discomfort because the desire wasn't big enough because it
yeah.
wasn't really what I wanted. And so I just had all these fits and starts on that 7 year path until I was really started to get really clear on what I wanted. And that was because I'd finally unlimited what I thought I could do.
Mm. That must be one heck of a process of mental reprogramming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So tell me about losing those limits. What were some of the things that maybe you were? What were some of the things that you were imposing on yourself, and then how did you turn? What did you start doing once you'd actually made a conscious decision that you weren't going to limit yourself anymore?
Yeah. Um, Definitely the biggest limit was that I thought I couldn't be an entrepreneur,
Mm.
which is like so ironic because commercial real estate was incredibly entrepreneurial. And like I learned so much about being an entrepreneur in commercial real estate. And I just sort of had what I felt like was a safety net with the people
Mm.
that I was working with and the company that I was in. So it was like really letting go of that like safety net and thinking like I could actually do something on my own that just seemed like it was for other people. Like I didn't think it was something for me. I thought it was for, kind of special or other kinds of people.
Yeah, I know.
And
I know how that feels. I'm still kind of
yeah.
struggling with that at the moment. I mean, I see all these podcasts and blogs and advice things about being an entrepreneur, and I think that can't be me. I don't know how I can be that, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do know how that feels.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a huge it can be a huge limitation if you let it be. And so for me, I mean, I've been working with a career coach for a while through this exploration process. And so I think that work together that we did really set me up because I remember her, because number one, it's super ironic that like I look back and literally like the first thing I put on my career assessment was like that I wanted to be a career coach. And that's what I do now. So it's kind of
Mm,
like ridiculous that I knew like day one, like 7 months in, I knew what I wanted to do and I was not willing to do it
yeah.
essentially. I kept like skirting around it and I tried all these other things. Um, so when working with her, I remember that she even, sent me this website of this woman who was like a sales coach, because that's obviously what I was doing in commercial real estate. And I actually really enjoyed that. Like I thought that was really interesting to coach people around negotiation and sales. And she was like, oh, see, this lady's doing it. And I kind of brushed it off and I was like, I don't know if she's making any money. Like, I don't believe that. And I mean, part of that's true too, right? You can put up a face on the internet and it can look like you're making money, but you're really not. And so
Mm,
I just assumed that she wasn't. And the truth is I have no idea if she was or she wasn't. I know some people do and some people don't. But so my coach was kind of helping me put some wiggle room between me and that belief this whole time. And so by the time I can't remember really the turning point other than that I took this acting class again. Like it was 7 years later or 5 years later, something, one of those time periods, a long time later. And there was still something calling me about the music and the theater, and I didn't know what it was. So I went and I took this acting class. And what I realized was that it was really this human transformation that I really like. People think acting is faking it, but it's really not. It's really
mm,
like it's really pulling down the mask and seeing the truth of somebody. And what I loved was just to see that authenticity in them. And I realized that was like this through line, even from when I was in high school, and everything I loved about theater and music and everything that I was studying and just studying for myself. And I mean, I read books this whole time, and that was really the through line. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, there's something here, and it's not acting, but what is it? And so then I started my first kind of beta, pre-beta, alpha, I don't know, whatever, test of creating this product, where I interviewed this woman to try to create a product that was like a personal development product. And
Yeah.
I didn't even know this whole world of like online coaching existed at the time. Like I thought this was like a brand new idea that I had and didn't exist. Which is also funny because it's like everywhere. But that was kind of like the first thing that I did after I really unlimited what I thought was possible. Was like, I could be, I could interview people, I could be Oprah or whatever. So I tried it, and that's kind of where it started.
No, I'm sort of sitting here listening to your story and sort of thinking about, well, I mean, God, that's maybe this is something I ought to be moving in the general direction of, but
Yeah.
but anyway, so you had this you tested out this initial product of you interviewing someone and helping them try and realize, maybe come to that same realization that you had, and get them moving in the direction that they didn't know, or hadn't accepted that existed for them previously.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's one thing I always struggle with, is this idea of creating a product,
Mm-hmm.
developing a solution
Mm-hmm.
to somebody else's problems. So, I mean, it worked out. What sort of testing and refinement did you have to do once you'd sort of done those initial tests to make it into something that, you could put out there and sell, and I guess do repeatedly?
Mm-hmm. So that project didn't actually work out.
Okay. Well, there you go. That was a
But it was because it was the first test, and I didn't really know very much, and I didn't really step into my own power either, which was a
Yeah.
big part of which was a part of the limitation too. Was like I was giving all this power to this teacher, and I was thinking, if I'm the interviewer, she's the teacher, and I'm just kind of drawing some different information out of her. And what I realized was like I was just giving away a lot of my own expertise and my knowledge, and in that process, and it didn't work out how I wanted it to work out. And so I moved on to creating my own product after that. And then that didn't work out how I wanted it to work out. And then I got some coach training, and then from there, again, more iterations and different things. And finally, like I kind of landed on something that felt good and solid, and like really stepping into my power and my expertise, and not minimizing it, and not thinking that somebody else has the answers, but really stepping into my own authority around it. And I think that's just one of the pieces. I'm not saying that you can't do that as a business model as well. But for me, I think I started with that because I was afraid to step into my own authority.
So, you'd now refined what you were going to be doing. You had your product that actually came fully from you. How did you start getting it out there?
So the first one that I did, honestly, like someone asked me this recently, and I don't even remember. I got one person to sign up for it for $35. and then I scrapped it. And then I think I did some more training, and I started this book club. And I got somebody in a different program for $100, through this book club. And then I created another program, and that was a 3-month program. And I got somebody into that from networking. And then from there, it's just built some more momentum, just doing networking and speaking and, doing some online marketing. But it's definitely been like this iterative process. And right now, I really feel like I have a really strong program that I'm super excited about, is super like I really put together all the knowledge and information from the past, like literally 15 years of research that I didn't even know I was doing at the time, into this one product that I just feel super passionate about. And I have different strategies around, getting people into that. But yeah, the first ones really, I mean, I didn't fill them. I did it once and I didn't like it. And so I did something else. And, so it's just been kind of like this iterative process.
Yeah, it does seem that you have to go through a lot of these frustrations with trying things that seem like a good idea, but over and over again, they just don't quite fit and you have to keep reworking them. And even as you're going through the process, you're getting all these results that still aren't quite working. It must take a lot. And I think maybe this is what, dissuades a lot of people. And one thing you were talking about earlier on was that idea of desire versus discomfort. Are you still, even when you find your desire, the discomfort does not go away, and
right.
there must have at times seemed points where you were going, this is still not working. I'm trying all these different things. Maybe I am, how did you keep yourself on that track when you were going through that iterative process and things just kept not kept adding up all the way?
So when I went through the coach training, I still wasn't sure I wanted to be a coach, but I knew I wanted to be part of this personal development, like movement, this personal development evolution. Like I knew I wanted to be part of that. And so for me, the way that I was expressing it, it was frustrating for sure. And it was like triggering sometimes and nerve-wracking sometimes, and still is. Like there's parts about it that are still super uncomfortable, but it's like, but this is who I am. And it really doesn't matter. Like, even if I have to, get a day job or, go back into commercial real estate or whatever it is, even if I had to do that, I would still be doing this on the side. I would still be growing this on this, because it's who I am, and I would not want to stop. But that's the clarity that I have around what I really want to be doing. And it's like all those other things that I tried in the past, all those other fits and starts, it was like they just weren't it. And that's why I couldn't follow through. But what I'm doing now, and it'll still evolve. It'll still get more nuanced and like clearer about, who do I really want to work with and all those kinds of things. How do I want to work? Like even for me, like I love coaching, but really I like teaching more. And so I think I'm going to keep my private coaching time really limited so that I can have more time to be a teacher, like a curriculum creator, an experience creator is really something that is nuancing itself out that I really want to focus more on. And that really was always there too. So the thing is, I guess, is that it really, when you get that level of clarity, and you're probably, people who are listening, if you're worrying about this or thinking about this, it's like something that you're probably already doing right now. You may not know that you're already doing it. Like for me, I was reading all the time. I was just absorbing personal development stuff all the time. And it's just part of who you are. And so it's like when you realize you can do more of it and in a bigger way, like that's when you can leverage that desire to work with the roadblocks and work with the fears and overcome the obstacles instead of just letting them stop you. You have to learn how to work with them. That's a whole huge thing, is like, you can't just pretend they're not there. But if you learn to work with them and you can keep that desire bigger than the fear and bigger than the discomfort, and that's how you just keep going down that path of, paid to play.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I've got to admit, I've been not good at asking people when I've had them on the Pay to Play podcast is, of course, there is being able to do the thing that you love, but when it comes to actually getting paid to do it, of course, therefore you have to be interacting with other people, and you have to, I wish I could find a better phrase than the one that comes to mind at the moment, because it does sound a little bit impersonal, but building a customer base, if you know what I mean. So
a community. You can build a community. You have to solve a problem. Yeah.
So tell me a bit more about the community that I guess you partway built and partway discovered. Who are the people who come to you with their pains, and who go away having their lives transformed, and then I guess, start telling all their friends about it so that they can come to you.
So again, this has been like an iterative process of like trial and error. And I think you brought up something before that was like a lot of people aren't willing to stumble that much. It's like you have to be willing to make what you think are mistakes so that you can learn. It's like every uncomfortable networking event, every uncomfortable speaking gig, every uncomfortable consult call. I've learned so much about what I want and what I don't want and what I'm great at working with and what I'm not great at working with. So it's all this like, and I still like really struggle with like, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to do that uncomfortable call, but it's like keep reframing my mind that I'm going to learn something because I always do. And the other big thing is that I just want to say, as long as we're on this topic, is that people often ask, they ask me or they ask other people, it's like, how do you find your clients? And that's the wrong question. So the real question is, how do I become visible enough for my clients to find me?
Yeah.
And that's the uncomfortable part. Like, that is why we don't do it, is because we want to go out there and find those people who love us already. And it's like, no, you actually have to be visible enough and show your work to enough people. And some of those people aren't going to like it. And then the ones who are going to like it are going to see you. You're going to be visible to them. So for me, it's really just this process of getting clear on, who do I like to work with, and am I speaking their language, and am I willing to kind of like follow through on the language of, speaking to one person, and this is the kind of client that really lights me up. And I found I love working with people who are super driven and ambitious, and I have a client who I asked her, have you done your one thing this week? And she's like, I did 30 of them. And I was like, that's awesome. And it's like, and she sees so much, happen in a very quick amount of time. And so it's really cool to kind of work with that, driven mentality, and to get clear that that's what I really love working with. And even for me, like, I've had this nuance that I'm kind of playing with right now of, at first I started out, the nuance was like people who hate their job. Well, there's a lot of people who hate their job for a lot of different reasons. And that was part of the learning process for me. And what I realized was I actually really like working with people who don't like their job because they're highly analytical, strategic, intellectual people. And they actually really like that about their job, but they also really miss that creative side of themselves. They miss that inner author, dancer, singer, whatever it is. And so I help them bridge the gap because they don't feel like they're in their full potential because they're just using one part of themselves.
Yeah.
So that's been part of this nuancing process that I've come to realize. And I am, I don't know, it's just kind of like, I do feel like I'm sort of starting to attract that more.
So, to sort of get back to that a little bit, how have you gone about making yourself and your play as a career coach? How do you make yourself visible?
So for me, I have a few strategies, and this is just like business strategy, right? And that's the other thing about paid to play, I think, is like you got to know what you really love, and then you wrap a business strategy around it. It's like you don't get rid of what you love, but you got to wrap a business strategy around it, and you got to wrap a money mindset around it, and see money as something that helps you really express your purpose, and really is a tool to express your purpose instead of the opposite way around. But to answer your question about business strategy and visibility, so there's two parts of business strategy for me, which is lead generation and relationship building. And then working with people, obviously. And so visibility is lead generation. And for me, I do networking, I do speaking. And those are really the first two things that I did. And those are very low cost. They're very, they can be free, to do those two things. So it's a really great way when you're starting out to get visible. And it's like, so many people kind of hide behind the computer and want to just do all their marketing from the computer. But I think this is like my commercial real estate background talking. It is so great to have that face to face with people too. I think it just builds so much connection. I could be biased. I don't know. But I feel like if you're doing a combination of both, that's really kind of the sweet spot. So I started with that mostly. And then, I'm like always on Facebook. I don't know. That's just kind of who I am. And I have a website, so people can come to the website, but that's usually more like after they've met me. And then recently I've started to do some Facebook ads to get more visible. So those have been kind of my strategies for getting visible. But people who are just starting, I would really recommend, networking, speaking, and then being on all the free aspects of social media so that you can keep the relationship going with people who you've met at those events.
So ultimately, the start of it is face to face. You building connections directly with people rather than, as you've mentioned, trying to stay at home or keep it behind the computer screen. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just remember too, like blogging, like I remember how difficult blogging was for me at the beginning, and it still is sometimes. Like the stories that you want to share that are really connecting and really vulnerable, it can be really difficult to share those stories. And so for me, blogging, and again, it was still came back to like really owning my expertise. Like blogging was super difficult for me at the beginning and really, really difficult for me to want to share with people. And now it's like I've sort of built that muscle of like, it's okay. It's safe to share that stuff. Like, even if people don't love it, it's not the end of the world, share it because somebody else needs to hear that. And even if they don't need to hear it, it's just yours to share, to express yourself creatively. So that's another way that I've practiced being more visible.
So you now have a successful business, and from the sounds of it, you mentioned that perhaps going back to commercial real estate or what have you are options for you, but right now it is your full-time thing. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Well, firstly, congratulations. That
Well,
is
thank
absolutely
you.
fantastic. Um,
Awesome.
And so how have you found actually, getting to that point? I have known a few people who have had a goal to become fully freelance and escape the 9 to 5 rat race, who have then kind of discovered that once they're there, they have almost discovered ways within that place to be almost as unhappy as they were in their
Oh,
old
yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
So what do you do about that? And
Yeah.
yeah, and what are the things
Yeah.
that you do, I guess, to even if you do have those options of going back to a day job, of I guess keeping it your main thing? Do you have any strategies around that?
So it's like the way you do anything is the way you do everything, right? So like if you have a pattern in your day job, you're gonna move it into your entrepreneurial job. Like it's gonna be the same thing. So if you're a crappy boss to yourself at your day job, you're gonna be a crappy boss to yourself in your entrepreneurial job. If you're stressed out at your day job, there's nothing to say that you're not gonna be stressed out at your entrepreneurial job. Now you may enjoy it more, like you may enjoy the work more. But you still have to learn how to be a good boss to yourself. And I think that's been, it's still a challenge for me to really, because I'm kind of like naturally sort of like stressed out. Like I want to do a lot, and I was always kind of like that. And so it's like really relearning, what kind of boss do I really want to be to myself. And I again, though, it's like I love the work that I do so much that it's just not an option for me to not do it. So like to me, it's like, am I going to work hard here? Am I going to work hard in a day job? Of course I'd rather work hard here. Like I'd rather work, even if I had to work a little bit harder, I would rather work harder in this job, than to go to a day job that might feel easier, because this feels just like so much of who I am. And again, that doesn't mean that it's easy and that I'm a great boss to myself all the time. And I give myself long vacations with, spa weekends, yet. So it's really just a learning. And to me, it's really about a money mindset. Like it's about constantly cultivating that mindset of making yourself bigger than money and not making money the boss of you, but making you and money partners.
Yeah, that is one of the main things, I guess, because pretty much you need money to do everything, and yet there seems to be this dual mind, these two avenues where you're either absolutely hunting it, money becomes the main goal, or you maybe you listen to what other people tell you that, if you're doing what you love, you're almost
Yes.
you're how
starving
dare
artist.
you,
Yeah.
how dare
Like
you
starving
be,
artist or yeah. or corporate drone, right? It's like you either are, making money in this, quote unquote stable job, or you're a starving artist. And to me, those are really, both of those are still making money your slave, because when you're a starving artist, you're not requiring money. And so
Yeah.
it's like, the question is like, why are you not requiring money? And it's because you've still given money so much power.
Yeah.
And if you're not asking for money because it's like you've made money mean so much to take it from other people or whatever it is, both of those are still giving money so much power. And the idea is really to take the power back and to just, again, like I said, like just use money as a tool instead of, and have it be your partner instead of having it be something you're always like a slave to.
Mm.
But that's a practice. It's not something that just like happens overnight. Like and it's still, it's a constant practice for me too. And it's really a spiritual practice, because it's the question of, do I believe that I'm supported by, something bigger than me, or do I believe I'm all alone? And if I believe I'm all alone, then of course I'm going to project my power out onto money, onto a partner, onto, whatever it is outside of me.
Mm. No, it's don't worry. I'm sort of sitting here and feeling like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So anyway, Kristen, what is coming up for you? What are you looking forward to?
Oh man. I'm really looking forward to, I have I have a program that I just, like I said, I recently created. And so I'm really looking forward to having that, just more and more people join me on that journey. I have like I said, like I always love learning. So I have a mastermind that I'm part of that I'm going to go to LA just to deepen my own learning. And I'm in a Jungian spiritual psychology program right now. And so I get to go to some live events around that program, and then also around a wealth mastermind. So all those are in LA. So I'm super excited about those kinds of things coming up, which is great too, because it's like being in my purpose. That's like part of my job now. And it was like, that was just always sort of a hobby before. And now that's like part of my job, which is just kind of unreal and kind of, just really amazing to
Yeah.
me.
I was just having a look over some of the notes that you sent me, and I just suddenly realized that there was something that I wanted to ask you and haven't yet.
Oh, yeah.
You've mentioned how basically your job is about finding the thing that lights people up. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't mind, could you tell me maybe a couple of people, some of the people whom you have helped find the thing that light them up, no matter
Mm-hmm.
how from the outside offbeat or unusual it was?
Yeah, yeah. So, one of my clients is an engineer, and she is like super smart, like super like analytical, and she was just really, again, not really feeling completely fulfilled in this engineering job. And so we worked together. She's also a dancer, so we started kind of down that path. And then what she really realized was she was really loving photography. And now she's sort of realizing that she loves teaching too. But she's still, it was funny because I even remember one of our first conversations. She was like, but I don't, dancing might not be intellectually stimulating enough. Is that like a limitation? And I was like, well, yes and no. It's a limitation in the fact that like, don't shut down the voice that says I want to be intellectually stimulated. But the limitation is that there might not be that in dance or whatever creative pursuit that it is you want to do. And so she's found a way to combine photography and teaching and engineering, because she still really loves engineering. And so she's put together this, like basically she started to build a community around what engineering is and just bringing more awareness to people around engineering through photography. And she loves it. Like she's just excited about the project. And so we'll see where it goes from there. But you can even see a difference in her, just even 2 months after our work together, of just really being in that place of inspiration and excitement about the work that she's doing.
That sounds incredible. And yeah, I reckon that there are a lot of people probably nodding their heads and thinking that is a place I would very much like to be in. So
It's really cool to watch her how inspired she is. And she even did this. There came about this. She's also like a writer and a storyteller. And there came about she found this contest for female engineers who want to be screenwriters. And so she also put together a sample screenwriting thing to be part of this contest. It was like, who knew that existed? Like, who knew a screenwriting contest for female engineers existed in the first place? And then she got to put this thing together. And the point to me is like, win or lose, like, how amazing is that an opportunity that exists? And if that exists, something else exists too. So let's keep playing and let's keep, do that, put that together. Great. Submit it. And what else? What's next? Let's start a blog or whatever it is, but let's keep the fuel and the essence of that passion. Let's keep it going and see where it evolves to.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. She's very talented. I really, really enjoy watching where she's going with it. So
if there were 3 things that you wish maybe someone had told you when you were starting out, that you've sort of learned in the meantime, and that you might that you think might help someone else who's sort of at that crossroads right now, whether they're looking at becoming a coach or they're just trying to figure out what the heck it is they want to do. What would you tell that person? What would those 3 things be?
Only 3? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, man, I don't want to, that's
no,
your job. All the rest of all the other things are, that's why you're a coach. So I don't want you giving the whole game away.
Yeah. So, okay. So just the first thing is like, get money out of the way, like get your ideas about money out of the way and figure it out is what you really want to do, because money really boils down to 4 things. It boils down to the willingness to be visible enough for the opportunities to find you, whether or not that's a promotion or clients or whatever it is, like you have to be visible enough. But you also have to know what you want. The second thing is you have to ask for what you want. So again, that requires you to know what you want. The third thing that money requires of you is to believe that you deserve it. And that is not pretending to believe, not telling yourself positive thoughts. It's like this weird, illogical feeling in your body that you deserve it. Whatever that number is, like if you want $100,000 and your body does not believe that you deserve it, you got to work with the body to believe you deserve it so that you can have it. And then the fourth thing is that you actually have to receive it. So it's like if you minimize that you got paid to play $5, well, you're going to minimize or 1 like on Facebook. Well, then when you get 100 likes on Facebook, you're going to minimize that. And if you minimize 100 likes, you're going to minimize 100,000 likes or $100,000 or whatever it is. And so you actually have to be present to your success. And because what you appreciate appreciates. And it's cliche, but it's true. So once you get money out of the way and you just know that money is a skill that requires a business strategy and emotional resilience, essentially, then discover what it is you really want to do and peel back the layers of the nuance. Because here's the other tip, is that I see a lot of people go after this big dream that they think that they want to do, or they want like done. They want it created. They're like, oh, someone should really create a fill in the blank, dog rescue, whatever it is. But they don't think about like the day-to-day doing of that. Like, what am I literally going to be doing every single day? And so if what that big vision is does not match up with the doing every single day, you need to change the vision. And you'll create something amazing, so don't worry about that part either. But like focus on like, what do I want to be doing every single day that really lights me up, that really gets me going, that's really exciting to me and challenges me, and I love learning about, and I love the creation and the projects and all those kinds of things, and just keep peeling back the nuance of it. And really, the more clear you are on the essence of what you want to do, the ironic thing is the more opportunities you have. But the more you stay at the surface of what you want to do, the less opportunities you're going to see. So those are kind of I'm not sure if that was 3, but there might have been more than 3. But those are kind of like some of my big tips that I like to give.
No worries. I think you've just given plenty. And I know what you mean. I know what you mean about celebrating the money. I mean, I've got the Patreon page for the podcast. I have, within the first day of launching it, I got 2 backers, the $3 per episode level. And I've got to admit, and if you're listening, Michelle and Paul, my apologies, although this is the 3rd time I've just dropped your names in these episodes. So dudes, thank you again. There is this temptation, to sort of say, okay, that's just $6. That's only
Yeah.
$6. You know, I
Yeah.
need, that's sometimes the words that go through your head. I need more.
Yeah.
I need to be getting more in order to develop the pay to play podcast. I need to be getting more to give my wife and I more financial security, help get us out of debt. I need, instead of
Mhm.
looking at that $6 and going, this is cause for celebration. This is two
Yeah.
people who are
Two
giving
people.
me,
Yeah.
yeah, well, actually, I should say $12 because it's two people giving me $3 an episode, and I do an episode every fortnight, so that's $12 a month, and that's $12 more a month than I had before I put the Patreon page up.
And that someone's paying for this. I mean,
Exactly.
I think that's amazing. Like, oh, there's a lot of stuff on the internet that no one pays anything for.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's a huge win. So
Yeah, it is, and I think, you know, folks, if you're listening, that is an example of the struggles that we're going to have. You're going to look at each step of progress, unless you're very careful. You're going to
mm,
see it as, for want of a better word, just a step. And
hmm
you still have more steps that you've got to make, and that one step isn't enough. Instead of being, it is one step more than you took 5 minutes ago, or you know, it's 5 steps more than you took a few weeks ago. That it is progress, and it's something. Instead of being hard on yourself for not being further along, it's progress that you need to celebrate.
hmm
Mm.
yeah. And it's like, just focusing on the opportunity instead of focusing on the lack. Like, really, number one, you're going to see more opportunity. And so you have more opportunity. And you're not just living this life where you just feel all this lack all the time. So it really has that dual benefit that's just beautiful. So.
Yeah. So, Kristen, after having listened to this podcast, where can someone who is curious about you, or would like to engage or would like to engage your services, where can they find you?
Yeah. So you can go to kristenbakercoach.com. That's Kristen, Baker coach.com. And then I also have a free report where you can go to 5mistakes.kristenbakercoach.com. And Rob, did you want me to tell them about that,
Oh,
or?
absolutely. Please
Yeah.
tell us more about that report.
Yeah, so it's called The 5 Mistakes People Make Trying to Figure Out Their Dream Job. And so it's kind of more of like what I started to say for Rob's 3 tips. You just get even more of my tips on the things to really avoid. And that's a lot of it. It's like people just go down these wrong paths and they just spin and spin and spin, trying to make these ideas work that really aren't who they are, don't really light them up, and they think they're supposed to light them up or they should light them up. And so I kind of poured in, my 5 best mistakes that if you avoid making, you're going to get a lot clearer and be on the right track for you, where you really are excited about what you're doing. So, and that, yeah, so that's 5mistakes.kristenbakercoach.com is where you can find that.
Kristen Baker, thank you very much for your time on coming on the
Thank
Pay
you,
to Play
Rob.
podcast. It's been absolutely fantastic chatting with you.
You too.
I feel like I've gotten a bit of your coaching program for free, which is occasionally something I feel a little bit guilty about when I get people on the show and I sort of pick their brain. And I guess that's another thing.
It's a perk.
I'm hopefully helping to get your name out there a bit more, get you in
Yeah.
front of some people who might not have heard of you, spread the word about what you do. But there's always this little bit of you that says, yeah, am I profiting from someone when I shouldn't be? It's a
Oh my
tough one.
goodness. No, it's mutually, that's the
Mm.
whole point. It's like mutually beneficial. And so that's awesome. That's a perk. I have a podcast too, and I interview people, and I do feel like, wow, this is an amazing opportunity to talk to people who have, just a different perspective than I do. And I always learn something from that too.
Mm.
So it's really, it's win-win for sure. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to have been on here.
Mm. And of course, oh fellow podcaster, we can find episodes of that on kristenbakercoach.com.
Oh yeah.
Mm. And are all your episodes video?
They're all video. Yeah. There's
Ah.
a audio version, but they also all have video.
That might be something I'll have to ask you about at some point, because I've been flirting with the idea of doing video episodes, but
More visibility.
indeed, yes. I've
Yeah.
done the odd video log, but I've not done a video chat yet. So
Hmm.
that's that. I think that's the next step. That's the next thing I'm going to have to look at to develop the Pay to Play podcast a bit more. But
Awesome.
once again, Kristen, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob, and have a great day.
You too.